Hello everyone, welcome back to Pixel Village and I am Radha Krishnan. One of the most common questions that we used to get in the comments column in YouTube is that why are you guys not doing any Sony? Well, let me tell you, we always had Sonys in our studios. The first Sony came while we were, doing seriously videos in 2017. This is one of our early Sonys, pure hardcore video camera, digital filming camera because this could shoot a 4K RAW. This is the FS5 Mark II. And then, of course, there is also a workhorse. This actually is one of the most popular or probably the largest sold Sony ever, I think, is the A7 III. I think this probably single-handedly catapulted Sony into another orbit altogether. So we are no strangers to Sony and we've been using Sony. Just that, yes, there were not too many reviews about Sony at Pixel Village, but we've been using Sony for reviewing lenses and stuff. But now I have a special reason to be talking about Sony today because we have a real Sony. Why I'm saying real Sony? Because I have my own reasons. We have a Sony Cinema Line camera here, the baby Cinema Line camera, the FX30. So this video is about why we are impressed about it and why we would like to recommend it to a photographer who wants to embark on his cinematography career, digital filmmaking career. The FX30 is the entry point into Sony's cinema line of cameras. The most important one is that this looks exactly similar to the FX3. The build quality is brilliant. It uses a magnesium alloy body. The hand grip is substantial. It has a dedicated video record button for, of course, still photography. You have the trigger here. It shoots at 26 megapixel single frame at a time. No motor drive, no nothing of that sort. It has a tele wide zoom, so that's where the cinema camera, that DNA comes in here, and it has about 6 dedicated buttons, one for record, one for iris control, another one for white balance, another one for ISO, and another one for trash, and of course for focus magnification. And of course you have a full HDMI here, you have separate mic and headphone jacks, and you also have a micro USB terminal and a USB 3 for charging. On the other side, of course, you have the memory card compartment. 2 memory cards, takes SD or CF Express Type A cards inside. Well, you can use this those traditional trigger to trigger your still frame, and there are no viewfinders. You only have a very high quality, fully articulated LCD here, and importantly, it has a few, in fact 5 Q20 mounting ports here. In fact, if you are not using any rails along with this camera, you may not really require a cage to work with this camera because your recorder or your V-mount battery or your, a lot of things can get mounted onto the body itself, and using a base plate, you can mount this straight onto a tripod and of course use a clip-on mat box, and then you're ready to go. The Sony FX30 uses a brand new 26 megapixel APS-C. No, not APS-C anymore. a Super 35 Exmor R CMOS sensor in this camera. Super 35 because this camera is aimed squarely at that photographer who wants to graduate into being a serious cinematographer or a digital filmmaker. And FX30 is the stepping stone into Sony's cinema line of cameras, starting with FX30 and then the FX3. Incidentally, FX30 is based on the FX3. There are some differences. FX3, FX6, FX9, and then the big daddy Venice. Venice is what the serious cinematographers across the globe in Hollywood and Bollywood and everywhere is using. The FX30 is, though it is a hybrid camera, it is more a cinema camera than a still camera because it shoots just one frame a second, correct, of a 26 megapixel image. That's all it does. Of course, it gives you all other features like selecting, RAWs, JPEGs and all that, but they have actually overloaded this camera with cinema features at an affordable price. And I'll come to that right at the end of the video. Here I'm using a 1020 G lens, and you can actually zoom it without physically touching the zoom ring. Going back to the cinema features of this camera. Now, this camera shoots a 4K video, which is oversampled from a 6K frame. I told you that this camera has a 26 megapixel frame, right? Now, that is a still image, still photography frame. The moment you crop it into 16:9 aspect, well, the resolution drops down to 20 megapixel, which is exactly what a 6K frame is like. Okay? And from that 6K frame, the 4K footage that we are shooting with this camera is sampled from that 6K frame. So that actually allows the camera to give you or to retain lots of information in the image. Okay, now that 4K footage can be recorded from 24p to 120p and everything in between. Okay, so a cinematographer has all reasons to jump up in joy. A camera of this size and this price gives you 4K 120p in a whole host of XAVC compression standards. And if you are interested in shooting RAW, if you have deep pockets and tons of storage, well, of course, you can use an external recorder like a Ninja and record ProRes RAW, or if you use Blackmagic, you can record Blackmagic RAW as well in 16-bit. When you record internally, it records at 422 10-bit, and of course, I told you, a whole host of compression possibilities. The new sensor has 14 stops of dynamic range. Okay, and the video can be recorded in all standard picture profiles. And also can be shot using the Venice's S-Cineton as well. You know, that actually gives you a very cinema-like colors, which kind of resembles Venice. Using FX30, you can either shoot in standard picture profiles or in its famous S-Log mode as well. When you shoot in standard picture profiles, you can shoot in ISOs ranging from 100 ISO to 32,000 ISO. But when you shoot in log, well, the camera will ask you to be a little more disciplined. Well, it still allows you to shoot in two modes, a flexible ISO mode and a Cine EI mode. Now, flexible ISO is when the camera make use of its native ISO or base ISOs. This camera has dual base ISOs, 800 and 2500. The exposure index is another feature where this camera shares those traditional filmmaking values. So when you use the flexible ISO and you're shooting log, imagine, it will give you an option to adjust the ISO between 800 to 2500. You have an option of changing that ISO in flexible ISO mode. But the moment you switch to Cine EI and shooting log, then the camera will make that decision for you. It will shoot either on 800 ISO or on 2500 ISO. Now, thereby, it will allow you to, get the best possible image, because as still photographers, you have that elbow room to work with anything between, let's say, a 64 ISO to 1 lakh whatever ISO, and you will do all that magic in your Photoshop and Lightroom and various other digital tools and get your images, because you are working with very, very high megapixels and in raw data format. Whereas in a 4K frame, which is just about 8.8 megapixel, unless you have a great image with lots of information in the highlights and in the shadow, chances of you creating a stunning visual which can be projected onto a large screen is kind of doubtful. Hence, when you shoot log, make sure that you're using Cine EI, and then you are assured of great quality. Now, working with Cine EI actually will require another tutorial altogether, which we are planning to do as a follow-up video. But till then, please understand that when you are working with log, you must use the Cine EI to expose. So you will see, the moment you switch to Cine EI, you will see your LCD darkening down. Do your adjustments to get a bright image, and the camera will automatically pick either the base ISO of 800 or a base ISO of 2500, depending on your lighting condition. The log options available are the famous S-Log3 and the S-Gamut3 Cine. Now, Sony is known for their autofocus and follow focus capabilities. This camera inherits that as well. So in very low light conditions or overexposed conditions too, the camera will stay on tack focus using the AF lenses. Whatever that we have tried with it, we've not been successful in throwing this guy out of focus in autofocus mode. So what else does a cinematographer want? So he got his 4K 120, he got his autofocus, he has this low light sensitivity, he has ease of operation, he has a familiar form factor, it's got 422 10-bit internal. What else? What else do you need? You need stabilization. This guy has both IBIS and digital image stabilization. So together, this camera will give you amazing stability even if you are doing handheld shots. So that's again an added feature. Biggest concern of the cinematographer when he shoots with the hybrid camera is the body heating up. the FX30 has a cooling fan built in it. It draws cool air from outside and throws out the hot air through the other vent, and it is an absolutely silent operation, and you will have no fan noise coming in the camera because it's so silent. Now, what we're going to do is to do a battery test. Well, the internet says that the camera will run out of battery before it actually stops due to heat. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to put it through a real world test. You also have the S and Q mode, which is your slow motion and the quick motion. Easily accessible, you don't have to dig deep into the menu. The upgraded firmware 2 has made it easy for you to access the S and Q. Go to that and pick in case if you want to slow down further. Of course, shoots PAL and NTSC, and I stay with PAL because our condition suits a PAL shooting. You can also power the FX30 using a power bank, which has a PD, a power delivery option. That will be probably the cheapest option in case if you want to power this camera for a much longer period. A V-mount battery can be pretty expensive. You will require many adapters and cables and camera grip and gear to kind of support that. Here, the power bank can be nicely strapped onto the tripod leg using a Velcro tape. Well, what else? I think all in all, at the kind of price point in which this camera is selling in India. The reason why I'm not saying is probably 1 year later the prices might change, so that's why this is the price of this camera as we speak in India. It's the street price in India. At this price, I doubt if there are any other cameras that can offer this kind of features, including the image quality. And the most important thing is this is in the cinema line of cameras. Another big advantage is that E-mount. The Sony's E-mount is one of the most popular lens mounts available, and Sony has an amazing range of G-Master lenses for their E-mount. So that gives you tons of flexibility when it comes to buying lens options. What else? I can go on and on and on, but what I am really happy about is the fact that now brands have seriously started thinking about introducing a cinema line. Well, a few brands already have done that. What Sony is doing is you're hand-holding a photographer who's taking baby steps into cinematography by offering a form factor which is familiar to him and allowing him to take that steps, one at a time. Okay, and also offering all the features without any compromise at a much better price point too. I am excited. I am looking to getting out and doing some extensive shoots with this camera. I'd like to know your feedback on this video because I think I went on and on a kind of a verbal diarrhea, but I'd like to know what you think about this review. Well, like I told you, I will definitely follow up with other videos on using FX30 and yep, I'll see you soon. Another video. Bye for now. ये देखो, ये मेरा बैग में डाल देना, मैं आज से मैं यूज करने वाला हूं उसको, ठीक है? ये मेरे बैग में डालना, मालूम है कि तुमको ये क्यों चाहिए, ठीक है? I'm going to keep this for some time.